Hello, my name is Myra. Welcome to another video. So for today's video, I wanted to go ahead and talk about football. Now, the reason why I wanted to talk about football is because here in the US, the Super Bowl was yesterday, and whether you watched it, heard about it, or just went to a party for the barbecue, you might still kind of be in like a football mindset. And what better than football romance? Now, if you've seen everything going around about Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift, I think it's adorable. I'm a Swiftie, and I know you have the dads, the Brads, and the Chads that are mad that they keep showing Taylor Swift everywhere. She doesn't control the cameras. She is a woman there supporting her man. So I know I go watch my boyfriend play in his men's softball league, and he's not Travis Kelce and I'm not Taylor Swift. But if someone told me that I couldn't be there to support my boyfriend, I would tell them exactly what they could do with their opinion. Just food for thought, okay? Food for thought. But anyway, given, you know, the whole like romance thing between them, it kind of inspired me to put together this video and talk about some football romances that I've read and some that I really want to read. So first off, I'm gonna go ahead and start off with Nixon by Samantha Whiskey. So this one is actually part of a 3-book series. I'm not sure if it's gonna continue growing, but Nixon is a professional football player who happens to meet a woman in Vegas, and they hit it off right away. They're having a great time, and then, you know, they go back to their regular lives. Now, it turns out that there was a consequence from their night in Vegas, and that resulted in an accidental pregnancy. Now, he's been scarred before. He had a girlfriend that pretended like she was pregnant, but she wasn't pregnant. And so he kind of doesn't believe this girl at first because of his past experience. But she makes it very clear to him, like, listen, I'm just letting you know that you're gonna be a dad, but I'm planning on raising this baby by myself. And he's kind of like, no, if it's my child, like, I want to be involved. And obviously, because of that accidental pregnancy, they're spending all this time together, and their romance goes on from there. If accidental pregnancy is not your thing, don't worry, because there's also book 2, which is Roman. This is also by Samantha Whiskey. Now, he is Nixon's teammate, and this one is actually a best friends to lovers. They have been best friends for over a decade, and he's always been pretty much in love with her, but she's never seen him that way. She doesn't know that he has feelings for her. And one day she ends up showing up to his front door and says, hey, I just broke up with my piece of shit boyfriend. Can I please stay with you? And he tells her, yes, of course, like, you can stay here with me. Now, there is a slight problem because her ex-boyfriend is Roman's teammate. So her ex-boyfriend is also a professional football player. And now he's kind of conflicted because, I mean, he's conflicted, but he's not that conflicted because, like, this is like his best friend of like years, and he's also like horribly in love with her. But now it's also like his teammate. But little by little, as they're spending time together, I mean, you have the close proximity, and he also starts finding out all these things of like how her boyfriend was like abusive towards her and like just kind of very like manipulative. And so he really has a problem with that, of course. So it just kind of follows their romance, and it's such a cute story between them. Normally, best friends to lovers is not like my favorite, but in this case it was done really well, and I really enjoyed it. Totally different, you have book 3, and this is Hendrix. Now, this one is a coach's daughter. So Hendrix, like a lot of professional athletes, he happens to be a playboy. He doesn't have trouble getting ladies. And so when the coach's daughter comes around, the coach makes it very clear to all of them, hey, this is my daughter. I want none of you guys around her. She's off limits. Just stay away from her. Now, he though is very intrigued by her. They're always bickering back and forth. There's a lot of banter between them. And one day she asks him for a big favor, and she says, hey, Hendrix, can you please help me, because I still have my V card and I very much would like to lose it. Can you please show me the way? And he's kind of, you know, stuck here because he's like, well, I am attracted to this girl, and like, I want to hang out with her and help her with her problem, but also my coach very explicitly told us to stay away from her. But if it's not me, it's going to be someone else, and I don't really like the idea of someone else teaching her the way when I can teach her the way. So yeah, Those 3 books, so good. You could read them as standalones, but you definitely get a little bit of like a preview of what the next couple might be. But if you want to just read, like I said, if like accidental pregnancy is not your thing, you can definitely go to like the best friends to lovers. If best friends to lovers is not your thing, you can just go for like Coach's Daughter / like forbidden romance. So you can definitely pick and choose, or you can read all 3. That's what I did. I read all 3, liked them all. I think I rated all of them 5 stars. But yeah, so that's that. Now, next I have 2 other books. These are also interconnected, but you can definitely read them as standalones. So the first one I have is The Lie by Carla Sorensen. So in The Lie, you have this professional football player, and he gets traded to this team, and he comes from a team that was very like negative. They didn't really have a team mentality. It was more of like who can, you know, break the most records in the league and who can, you know, look the best, right? So it's like ball hogs, like you have people that are like trying to always be the one scoring the touchdowns and stuff like that. And so Dominic comes from this type of environment, and he is traded to a team that's totally opposite. They come from like a team mentality. They have a lot of like bonding experiences that they do prior to the season starting. So it's a very close-knit group, and it's something that he's not used to. Now, he's also known for having a temper, so he doesn't really have the best reputation, but they make it very clear to him, like, hey, this is a very different team that you're joining. Like, some of this stuff is not going to fly here. Now, on the very first night, it ends up being the anniversary of his sister's death. And so he is there on the field by himself, and he's with one of the rookies that just got signed to that same team that he got traded to. And the rookie ends up getting super drunk and throws up on the field. They end up getting caught on the field, and he knows, like, he's a rookie. He has more to lose than I do. So he takes the blame for throwing up on the field. So as punishment, the owner of the team, who happens to be a woman, by the way, she ends up telling him, listen, this type of stuff is not okay. So now you are having to report to my daughter and pretty much do like mandatory community service, except it's not community service. It's part of the football team's foundation. So he has to be volunteering his time to volunteer with kids. Now, her daughter, the owner's daughter, is like, oh no, the last thing I want is to have to babysit this grown man who is clearly a troublemaker and does not have the best reputation. But her mom tells her, listen, you have to do this. He has to do it, and who better than you to watch him and make sure that he's actually volunteering and spending his time there with the kids. And so they start spending all this time together. They start getting to know each other, but he starts getting a little bit attracted to her, and she kind of starts seeing a different side to him. But again, she's the owner's daughter, and not only that, but also like her dad is an ex-football player, so he's around a lot too. And he's like, I'm new to the team, so like I want to be with her, and like I'm interested in her, but I don't know. And she's interested in him, but she's also been like chatting with this guy that she's never met. She doesn't know what he looks like. They've been chatting for years. And so she's kind of like, ooh, on one hand, I have this guy that like I click with, but I've never met. And then I also have Dominic, who I'm starting to see this whole other side to. So she kind of has to choose like which way she wants to go. So that's The Lie. The second one is The Plan. This one, again, either book you can really just read as a like standalone, but The Plan does follow the sister from the heroine from the first book in The Lie. So in The Plan, you have she's also, of course, the coach's daughter because they're sisters. So she is pretty famous, social media famous. So she's an influencer, and because she's also like, her dad is an ex-professional football player. Her mom is the owner of a football team, a professional football team. And then you have her, who is this influencer, and she's a pretty big influencer. At the beginning of the book, you have her pretty much recovering from a car accident. The paparazzi have started to follow her, and they end up causing an accident. Now, thankfully, the car accident wasn't major, but due to this car accident, she's kind of a little bit like, she's become a little bit of a hermit. She wants to stay home. She doesn't really want to drive. She doesn't really want to go anywhere. And her dad and her mom are like worried about her because they're like, this is not like her at all. Like, she's usually always out and about, and like she just wants to stay home. She doesn't want to get ready. Like, she's depressed pretty much. And so they decide, you know what, it might help her to go out with someone being there with her, aka a bodyguard. And they end up hiring a bodyguard, but he is actually an ex-football player. So he used to play professionally, but he has now been retired. and he ends up getting hired to be her bodyguard. And so her parents are hoping, you know what, we might convince her to like little by little like feel more comfortable being out now that she has someone with her. And so she though is opposed to it, and she's like, listen, I do not want my friends to like look at me and be like, who does she think she is with like a bodyguard? Like she's not even like, you know, that famous, whatever. And so she says, listen, if he's gonna be my bodyguard, then I'm gonna be introducing him as my boyfriend, because I'm not gonna be telling people like, oh yeah, this is my bodyguard. And her bodyguard reluctantly agrees, although he really doesn't like it. And so you do have a bodyguard romance, but he is an ex-football player. So if you don't really care about sports as much, this one doesn't have as much football. He starts to kind of little by little help her to feel more comfortable being out and about and kind of get over that trauma of like getting into a car accident. So it's really cute. Their story is adorable, and I definitely recommend it. On to some books that I haven't read, but I definitely want to check out. I have The Crush by Carla Sorensen. So this also follows like The Lie and The Plan. The Crush is like the third one that's in that same series, but again, I think you can just read them as standalones. For this one, all I know is that it's a professional player who has been thinking about like an ex-love of his, and so it is a second chance romance, and it just feels like pretty much his whole focus was always football and being a professional athlete and being the best athlete that he can be. But at this point, it's like he's beat records, he's making the money, but he still feels like something is missing, and he just keeps going back to that woman in his life that he had at one point. And it basically just deals with him being like, you know what, I think I need to like connect with her again. And so I don't know how they connect again, because again, I haven't read it, but I do want to read it because it sounds like right up my alley, and like just second chance, like I don't know, I think that could be really cute. So I'm hoping there's groveling. We shall see, because groveling makes a big difference when second chance. The next one, and this one I heard about a lot, I actually saw it a lot on Instagram for people recommending it, and that is The Wall of Winnipeg and Me by Mariana Zapata. This one, I don't know anything about it. The only thing that I know is that it's like a professional football player and his assistant. So she, from what I saw from the blurb, she's been his assistant slash like maid slash fairy godmother, and like basically bends over backwards to like make things and make his life easier. She ends up quitting because she is done putting up with him not appreciating her, and it starts off with him showing up at her door and pretty much asking her to come back and work for him. So this one, again, I think it's gonna have some groveling, and I'm all for it. And I kept seeing it all over Instagram, like some of the Bookstagram accounts that I follow, they were recommending this as like a football romance. And I have read Colty by Mariana Zapata, and that one's a soccer romance, and I really liked it. Hers tend to be more slow burn, so I'm pretty sure this one is also a slow burn, which honestly is kind of nice from time to time, because don't get me wrong, I like my smutty looks like my smutty books, but once in a while it's nice to read like a slow burn romance. So I don't know, I'm excited to read this one. And then lastly, I have Blindside by Candy Steiner. I've actually never read anything by her, so that made me really interested in reading this. But I did see that this one is a football college romance, and it is it's pretty much like fake dating. And he is doing it as like fake dating because he wants to get his ex-girlfriend jealous, and then she is trying to get a guy to like pay attention to her. And I guess by him and her dating, like fake dating, she gets like positive attention because the guy kind of sees her as like, ooh, this is like a girl that I should try to date. And then he or she, the ex-girlfriend, will want him back. I'm not sure, something like that. But that's another book that I really want to check out. So anyway, that concludes all the books that I have read and recommend, and the ones that I haven't read yet that I really want to get to. If you are going to check any of the ones that I have read, please let me know which one and why. And if you have read one of the 3 books that I mentioned at the end, let me know what you thought of them, if you recommend it. But thanks so much for taking the time to watch this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!